Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. Good afternoon. This is going to be the Lunch and Learn with FlowTrack. I'm the founder, Mike Brown. We got a great topic for you today. We're going to be going over how you can automate everything except this. So we got some people chiming in the comments. Hey, how you doing? Well, hello, back at you. It doesn't tell me who you are, just says Facebook user. So hello, Facebook user. But we got a great presentation in store for you guys today. So this is part of the Lunch and Learn series. We're going to be doing this every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Getting off to a little bit of a late start today, but that's okay. I got my coffee in hand and we're going to do a great presentation. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right. So topic of today is automate everything except this. And so first, let's go over what are automation flows. So automation flows are the drag and drop sequence of events that you can automate. Automate anything using FlowTrack, right? So you're talking about your business processes, your autoresponders, your drip campaigns, your any sort of marketing. It's all that drag and drop automation. And so then once you see that anything's possible with this drag and drop automation, you're really going to ask yourself, well, what can I do with this automation? And the answer to that question is really, what are your goals of automation, right? And once you can kind of pinpoint those goals, we can start designing an automation flow custom around your business. And so the goals across all these different industries are usually pretty similar, right? Everyone's operating around, I got to get an online sale. I got to get a customer paying me. I got to get an appointment or a meeting booked. I got to capture a lead, or I got to get a contract signed. Those are typically the goals we see across every industry. It's one of these or multiple of these, right? And so once you know your goal, designing your automation flow is actually really, really easy, right? Because these are simple goals. And it's typically just a few touches to get to this goal, right? And so it's all about creating interest and desire and following up with your contacts, leads, and customers and making sure that no one slips through the cracks, right? And so once you identify the goals, the simple goals, creating the flows is actually very, very easy. Simple goals equals simple flows, right? So always identify the simple goals in your business so we can create simple flows to automate everything in there. All right. So the secret is really to learn minimalism, right? When you have the power of the flow at your fingertips, you can build a flow with 1 million steps in it. It's going to be hard to use, right? And no one's going to understand it except you. So it's really a good practice to learn minimalism. The secret to genius is simplicity. And the secret to being world-class at just a few things is minimalism, right? You want to be world-class at just a few things. And those few things are your simple goals, right? And we're going to go back to these simple goals. Be world-class at capturing leads. Be world-class at getting customers to pay online for your product or getting a meeting booked with you. That's what you need to be world-class at, right? So simple goals and then learn minimalism. And so one thing I want to point out is to avoid the noise. And by the way, I see there's a ton of people commenting right now in the chat, so keep that flowing. I'm going to be addressing these around the end. So I got a lot of great questions and comments in there, so keep that coming. But I want to say avoid the noise. There's a big difference out there, between people that design maybe automation flows and don't have the industry experience or haven't worked with other businesses, or people that say their flow is the cure to cancer, right? So what I want to just say is avoid the noise. Most of the time when you're starting out, you don't need a flow with 1 million steps, and equally you don't need 1 million flows, right? When you're focusing on your simple goals and minimalism, you're really about just simplicity. and getting your flow to be as simple as possible and as easy to understand so you can capture that lead and close that deal. And so this comes down a little bit to maybe some experience versus over engineering, because you can have your flow do a branch on every different thing. Did the person click on your email within 24 hours? Was the person, like you can literally do everything, anything in your flow. You can have all these complex branches, but you really want to just focus on the results. How do you get the visitor that came to your website to book an appointment? How do you get that visitor to place an order, right? And these are normally simple flows. And remember that complexity only impresses you, not your customers, right? There was never, Russell Brunson didn't write a book called the 10 funnel away challenge, right? It's the 1 funnel away challenge. And you've never heard of a book called the 10 call close, right? It's the 1 call close or the 2 call close. And you need to incorporate these same thoughts when you're designing your funnel. It's not the 10 or designing your flow. It's not the 10 flow, close. It's a lot more simple than that. And so I want you to keep in mind that you're designing these flows for productivity, and you're designing these flows to make your life easier. And so in order to design a good flow, I always break things down into 2 different parts. You really have the status or the state of your customer, and then you have the automation flow to get that person to the next state, right? And so let's start going over some examples of this. Now, when you're tracking customer status and state, different businesses like to use different tools in FlowTrack. Some people just might be using tags, right? You may have a tag that says, hey, this customer is a lead. And then later, after they buy something from you, they may get the tag customer, right? That's tracking the status or the state of this customer. Equally, if you're qualifying someone, you may have them as unqualified or qualified before they become a customer, right? This is how you can track the status of your customers. Now, some people use pipelines or both at the same time. You may track the status or state of your customer based on what column that customer is in a pipeline. So you can quickly look at your pipeline and say, oh, these are the people that need to be called. These are the people that have been called. These are the people that are qualified, right? That's tracking the status or the state of your customer. And so once you identify the statuses and states that are important to you, right, then it helps you understand what flows you need, because the flows help get your customers to that next state automatically, right? This could be something that you're doing manually that you want to automate. This could be something that the customer needs an additional nudge, right? A reminder to book an appointment. These are automated flows to help push the customer to the next status and to the next state. And so tags and pipelines can get you to the next status manually, and they can also trigger flows. Let's go over a very simple example. And this is pretty common, right? This would be an example of a funnel, right? A customer comes to your website, they filled out a form, customer gets an email, a lead gets put in the pipeline, it's waiting for an agent to make a call. The agent makes contact with the customer, determines if the customer is a qualified prospect or not. A payment request is sent, and the customer pays. So when you're looking at your flow like this, or your funnel, you have to ask yourself, where are the steps in here where you're waiting on a human? You're waiting on a person, right? Well, once the lead gets in the pipeline, you're waiting on the agent to make a call. Once the agent talks to the customer and they're qualified, you're waiting on the customer to pay, right? And so these are examples of the status, right? Every time you're waiting for the next status. And that's normally where a flow begins or a flow ends. And so looking at this example, right, customer fills out a form. Okay, great. once you fill out that form, we can automatically send them an email. We can automatically put a lead in the pipeline. And then that's it, right? We're waiting on something else to happen. And so let's dive into more examples on this. And so you can, once you identify the high level steps in your business or the funnel in your business, you can start identifying the different statuses you have at each of these. And these statuses, you can make tags, right? And so when someone fills out your form and becomes a lead in your pipeline, they might get the status new lead. After the agent makes a call, the agent might add a tag to the customer that says they've been called, they left a message, or there is no answer. So now by the time you get to this step in your funnel, they will have had the new lead tag and called and left message, right? So you can look at these tags quickly and immediately know everything about this customer. There was a new lead and the agent didn't make contact because LM, left message, right? Looking at some other tags, some other statuses. After contact is made, the customer is going to be qualified or not, right? And so you might tag them as qualified or not qualified. Great example of a status. Then you're waiting for the customer to pay. So if they have the qualified tag, but they don't have the customer tag, right, they haven't paid. So these are great examples of simple statuses that you can use as tags. And so now that we have all the statuses broken out, it's really about identifying the flows. And the flows are the gaps, like I said, to move them from status to status, right? So going back to this, in order to get them to the new lead status, well, I have to have a new lead flow. And that flow is going to run every time you fill out the form. It's going to send them an email, and it's going to add a lead to the pipeline. That's my new lead flow. Right? And it's going to give them that tag, new lead. Then we're waiting for a scheduled call flow. Right? Maybe the agent is making a call. It might be sending out a meeting request to book a call from the agent. Right? After the agent makes contact, the next part that we're waiting on is some sort of payment request. Right? So the customer has been qualified. Let's collect some payment. You might be sending them a form to make that payment. Then once the customer pays, right, you might have an onboarding flow. So in this example, we really got potentially 4 flows, maybe 3, right? This part could be manual, but you got 4 simple flows: new lead, schedule call, collect payment, and onboard, right? It's that simple. And so now we can go over a demo, right? And we can kind of create part of this right now and kind of go over how easy that is. But first, I'm going to go through and kind of quickly review the comments in the chat to see how everyone's doing today. So we got some people saying, hello, Mike. Hello, back at you. And so can you please show when there's a calling voicemail option when a form is submitted? Voicemail option when a form is submitted. Don't understand that question exactly, but if you rephrase that, I'm glad to answer it for you. Another person saying, hello, Mike. So, since I create an autoresponder to a keyword. Great point. Okay. All right. Well, let's just dive into the demo. And so 1 second, I'm going to share a new tab. All right. And yeah, we'll get better at sending out the invite for the StreamYard today. So probably gonna need to get this in a recurring invite so you guys all have the link to join. It'll be easier going forward. So let's go ahead and share this new screen. All right, share screen. All right, perfect. So we're in the demo account now. And Let's start by building this example that we just had, right? And so I might start by just making my pipeline. I like pipelines because it's a great visual representation of what you need to do, right, in your business. So I may come in here and click on the plus, create a new pipeline, and let's call this the lead pipeline. Right? And I can have this be a task or opportunity. Opportunity pipelines track money. Task pipelines do not, right? So I'm going to choose opportunity pipeline. Great. I got my new pipeline. Next, let's make a form and have this form trigger my pipeline or add a new item to the pipeline. So I'm going to come into forms, click on create form. And on here, we can go ahead and just put on let's say we'll do some columns. And I'm going to put in the first name, a last name, and an email. Right. And this is just a super simple example of a lead capture form. And you can obviously customize this text in here if you want. But I'm just not going to do that for the time's sake. And so this will be the new lead form. Right. And so now I got a form and now I have a pipeline. Right. And so now I see my form in the list of forms and I see that it doesn't trigger anything, right? This form doesn't trigger any sort of automation. Now I want to change that, right? And so I'm going to click on add new trigger. And now I can pick one of the flows I already have in here to hook it up, but I don't have my flow created yet. So I'm just going to click on create new flow. And so now I'm in the process of hooking up an automation to that form. And so the first thing I might want to do is just, like I said, tag the customer, right? I just want to know that this is a new lead, right? So I'll type in new lead, click save, boom, I got my flow. All right, next step, what do we want to do? Well, we might want to email the customer, right? Thank you, we're going to be reaching out to you soon, right? Calling soon. And you can type in something more attractive in here. I'm just going to do this for demo purposes. So Mike at demo, right? Click on edit email. And this is where we can do some personalization, right? We can say, hi, customer name. Thanks for reaching out. We are calling you in 15 minutes, right? There you go. So now we got some personalized email content, right? This is a variable that's going to be dynamically inserted, but we could equally use any sort of custom data we have on the form, right? So all the form data, all the contact data is available to you here, so you can personalize that content, those messages that you're sending to customers. And so, and going back to the email editor, I personally like the text email builder. We do have the visual email builder, which is more of that newsletter style email, like the graphical one. So you can use both. This one just looks more personal. I like that one better. And then you select if this is a marketing email or not. And we can go ahead and continue. All right, perfect. So we got that next step. Now, going back to the PowerPoint, right? What was the next step? We had a very, very simple flow, right? And so this flow was all about getting the person in the pipeline, right? So all I got to do now is add a pipeline step, create pipeline item. And on here, we can go ahead and put them in the lead pipeline. We're going to assign it to my sales user, which in this case is named system demo. We can go ahead and give this a name, new lead. I'll just say leads first name. Okay, so I'll use contact first name. And then we're going to go ahead and have the status of open, column needs analysis, value, right? You key in some value or put in 0, a close date, etc. That looks pretty good. And so going back to minimalism and simplicity, right? This is it for my flow. My first flow, this is it, right? I got 3 steps. 3 steps in my flow, right? It's not the 10 funnel away challenge. It's the one funnel away challenge. We got a simple flow. And this makes it a lot easier to manage. So now I'm just going to save this. We're going to call this the, we can call it flow one, new lead flow. And that's it, right? And so on this list now, on the list of flows, I can see, oh, I got my flow. It's published, and it runs every time there's a form submission. And so I'm going to dive back into that flow and just show you where you can see these things, because not everyone knows that you can actually expand this and you have triggers, right? And so I can expand this flow. I can see the name. I can edit the name. I can also see the triggers, right? And so this runs every time a form is submitted, that specific form that I added. Now we have tons of other triggers in here. And this is what we're going to use to launch additional flows as agents or people inside FlowTrack are adding new tags, right? So as the tags are added or the states changed, we're going to use that to trigger new flows and move the customer to the next state, right? And so this is where we can listen on those tag added events, etc. So let's go ahead and save this again. Click publish, and now let's go back into my database. We're going to click on form. I'm going to grab the link to the form, and let's go ahead and give this a shot. All right, so we'll say this is the lead from Joe Smith. It's going to be joe@flowtrack.co. Right, I'm going to fill this out. And now we're going to get that flow running automatically. I got a new lead in my pipeline. Let's go check it out. And so there's a few ways we can see what happened, right? The best way would just be to dive into the contacts, right? And on the contact page, I'm going to see a new contact in my database, right? I got a new lead, and it's Joe Smith, right? And so I just click on it, and you can see I have a few flows running in my demo account because I got a bunch of test data in here. But you can see my flow, new lead flow, just ran, right? It added the tag. I got the tag up here, new lead. It created the pipeline item, and it sent an email. Now, I can always click on this little icon right here. If I'm trying to troubleshoot my flow, I can click on that, and I can see exactly what happened and the result of every step. Right? This add tag step added a tag, new lead. This email step created an email pending to be sent. And the pipeline step created an opportunity named lead Joe in the pipeline. And then the flow ended. Right? That is it. And so now let's go into the pipeline. Right? Now I see my lead in the pipeline. I see that it's related to Joe Smith. I see that it's assigned to user system demo, right? That's how easy it is to create automations inside FlowTrack, right? And so you're going through this process trying to create minimal automation flows, very simple automation flows to get from status to status. That's going to be the goal inside FlowTrack. Focus on the results, not on complexity. And so this would be the same way if I wanted to design a flow to listen on tag added, right? And so let's go ahead and pretend we have a flow now for a different event. Let's create a flow number 2. Flow number 2, let's say we want this one to listen on a tag event. So I'm going to come in here under triggers, and I'm going to go in under tags. We're going to say listen for the tag added event, and we're going to listen for this one of qualified. I got to add. Oh, there we go. Added the tag. I got qualified, and so once they're qualified, right? Maybe you want to send them an email. It says please pay. Right, so I'm going to say this is from say payment link, sender name Mike. right? And this is the same process for everything. And I could put in a link to one of my forms. Let's just say this is the invoice form. There you go. All right. Please click to pay. Again, we might do some personalization. First name. And that might be it, right? I could just have a one-step flow. I could have another step that says, hey, did they click on it or not yet? So I can say wait for click or open. That would be pretty cool. We could do wait for click or open and say if the send email step is clicked, right? Or if the contact has the paid tag, right? Because I'm going to have on my payment form, I'm going to have a tag that says they paid. But we can also just listen for the click here and still keep it simple. Let's say let's wait for a click within 2 days. And now they're either going to have clicked or the 2 days will have passed. You're going to go down the timeout branch. So let's say they did not click within those 2 days. Well, I may want to send them an SMS. Like, hey, I sent you an email. Did you get it? Right? I don't have a SMS phone number on this demo account, but this is where you would select your phone number, type in the text message content. On here, you can equally do something personalized. So let's say something like, hi, hey, first name. I sent you the payment link to your email. Please check. Right? That's a really simple example of an SMS. But let's go ahead and delete this step. And let's just keep this flow super simple. Right? There we go. I got flow 2. Payment request. Save this. Now I can see a new flow in my list, right? I got flow 2, payment request, and I'm numbering these just so, it's easy for me to remember. This is the step 1, this is the step 2. I know where they are in my funnel. You can obviously put any naming convention you want in there. That's fine. But I see that this one's listening on the tag added event, right? And so now we can go add a tag. So I'm going to go back into the database. Let's say the salesperson was working this lead, right? And they might come in here and they might add the tag of qualified. There you go. There we go. Now we can go back into the flows. I think I might have typed in the trigger wrong somewhere, but let's look at it, see what I got. So I got qualified. Take a look. Yep, I spelled it wrong. Let me just put in the right spelling of it. There we go. Qualified. This would be interesting to test if it's actually case sensitive too. Because I put in, let's test it out. We got qualified, lowercase, capital Q. Just want to find out really quick if it's case sensitive or not. That's a good thing. I've never checked that. Let's see if this one did not run yet. So that one did not run yet. So let's go back in the database. And if it is case sensitive, it's definitely something we gotta change on there. It shouldn't be case sensitive. So we got a qualified tag. And it doesn't look like my next flow is running. So let's try to figure out why. Oh, it did right there. It did just now. So, all right, great. So I see that flow 2 ran, and I can see that this ran because I got a 1 next to that. And definitely looks like we need to make sure the tag is not case sensitive on there. So I'm going to have the team check that out. But we got 1 contact subscribed. I can always click on that number 2 and see who's been added to this. right? And I see when they're added just now. This contact was added based on this event. And I can also click on the button here to see the flow activity and see those details. And looks like it might still be populating there, but let's dive into the contact and see what happened, right? And so this flow is pending to be processed, and you can see that flow payment request just launched. So that's a very simple example. Again, it's minimalism, right? That's going to make this super easy to manage and really going to make you successful in here. And so we just did a very simple example where we're keeping track of the state or the status of the customer throughout your pipeline, and we're using flows to automatically get that customer to the next state. I would keep going from here, right? And I would design a flow that's going to listen every time someone submits my payment form now. And then I would tag them with the customer tag. And then I would make sure that they get a thank you email, right? And that's probably it, right? A very minimal flow. And so let's go back to the comments now and start to see what people are asking. Okay, so I've got a lot of comments in here. Let's see. Someone's saying that's a great point. Complexity only impresses you. 100%, right? No customer ever sent you a thank you message saying, thank you, your funnel was so complex and detailed, right? This person's asking, do you have a favorite internal or operational flow, not sales or marketing, that more people should use? So it depends on your business and the goals of your business, right? These flows are all about your funnel, right? What is the goal of your funnel? Book a call, book a meeting, book a sale, right? And so it's not really about like, is there a favorite flow that I have? It's just what's your goal and what's the next step to get the customer there? And you really don't need to overthink it, right? Usually the steps to get there are super simple. There's not like a secret flow that everyone has. It's going to, save the world. It's just, what do you need to do to get there? What would you do yourself manually to get the customer there? Right. We got some other people saying, hello back at you. And then we got some other questions. How do we copy an email from one flow to another? That's a great question. So let's say you're inside the flow builder and you are working on an email. We have in the send email step, we actually have the concept of templates. And I think now that I'm looking at it, I think the templates are only on the visual builder. So that's a good thing. I'm glad you just asked me that question. So I'm going to get this added to the list as a feature. So it looks like it's not for the text one. I mean, you can copy and paste the text, obviously, but it'd be nicer to have templates on there. So let me show you where that is on the visual builder. So on the visual builder, you can obviously click on this button to load a saved template. Let's say you're going to load one of the built-in templates, like one of these, right? Or you might pick from one of the templates that you've saved in your system, right? And so you can come on this tab and click your custom templates. Now, if you ever want to make a custom template, just click on this button, click Save as New Template, and we'll call this the Thank You template. Right? And so we just save that as a new one. Now, you'll probably notice that this does have a little animated GIF in here. So that is pretty cool. You can do that. Definitely helps get some attention. But now we got a new template in here under My Templates. Thank you template. That's how easy that is. We don't have that option on the text, but like I said, I'll get the team to look at that and get that humming. And then we got some other questions. How do you move them from one pipeline item to another? So we did have a feature request to move a card from pipeline 1 to pipeline 2. So you can definitely do that once we get that feature added. We don't have a move task between pipelines, but you can definitely move them between the columns. So if we go back to the columns, I'll try to follow up and get an answer to you guys on that feature request this week, but you can definitely move them to the different columns in there. That's going to be a good way you can manage the lead throughout your pipeline. Now, it is one of those things that depends on the flow or the funnel in your business. If you are going for minimalism, right, you might just have one pipeline, but I know you guys want that feature, so we're going to get that added in there as well. Basically, a step and a flow to say move Lead Joe's task from this pipeline to the next one. I can see that being useful, definitely. Let's see. Let's go over some more of the questions in here. Let's see. That one. Okay. Let's see. Can we add a manual call or voicemail along with the email action? So the great question. Now the phone doesn't trigger automated outbound calls, right? The phone system, you have click to call, so you can click to call the customer, and then you also have the ability to receive and route calls. So let's say your lead contacted you, right? You already know they're a customer in your pipeline, right? You can route them to the correct person, right? And so that's one of the things that you can do in here. That's really, really cool. Maybe if they're not a lead in your pipeline, you just tell them, hey, I see you didn't apply for our product, right? Go to this website and apply. Maybe you only want to speak with the customers that have applied. So you could do something like that too. And so when it comes to manually adding the voicemails, that would be, you're looking at your click to call, right? Click to call. Now we did just add the customer detail here as well on the left, so you can have the full contact visible in the pipeline, which is really cool. So that's something new. The team's going to be kind of compacting this a little bit to make it, have more data and less space and not take up the full screen. But that's still a really cool option in here. So if you have multiple contacts, you can just click on this and tab between them and see the contacts over here on the left. So that's how it's going to be easy to kick off, your next flows or add tags or call, that sort of thing, all from this page. How do you send an invoice link via SMS? That's a great question. So a few different ways. You can just have a flow for that, right? That payment request form that we had. The payment request flow that we had sent out an email with the link to pay. We could just as easily do that as an SMS. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at doing an invoice right here, right? And so you could create an invoice right here and send that off to the customer. And so it depends on the type of sales you're doing. If you're doing invoices that are really like custom for each deal, right, you might just be building an invoice on the fly. You can do that here. If you're, everyone's going through the same product or service, right? They're all ordering the same thing. You might just kick out the payment link to your form and have them sign up that way. Someone's asking about the ability to add an estimate or quote in the system. So we don't have estimates right now, but that is a great idea. And definitely go to roadmap.flowtrack.co because it's the roadmap that really guides us and tells us what our customers want to see on here. Looks like someone just added that, and I'm sure that's you. So thank you for that. But we work on things based on the most upvotes. So definitely go in there and vote for the things that you want. And that's how we're going to decide what features we need to add. So thank you for that submission on the roadmap. All right. We got another question. Is there an easy way to create an HTML-based landing page? So this person's asking if you can create a HTML landing page and import it. So, That is not going to be possible because we're a no-code drag and drop builder, right? So it's not a system where you code your own page and you try to upload it into the builder. It's a no-code, so you just drag and drop to make a web page. And even if you could do that, right, then it wouldn't work with our drag and drop website builder, right? So you want to have a website that's editable. Anyone can edit quickly in there. So we got a no-code drag and drop builder. Let's see, we got some other questions in here. Is there a way to send out a reminder prior to a meeting? You book a call today. Yeah, that's a great question. So we 100% have that. You're going to go into your flow and you're going to come in and let's just pretend it's this one for a minute. So let's say someone books a meeting and this is the flow where they book a meeting, right? And so we have a wait step, wait for amount of time. And we can say wait until a specific date, right? And we have on here, we should have on here, one of the variables is the meeting date. And this one's not hooked up to the meeting link, but it should be on here. If it's not, let us know, but I believe it's on here. So we got this wait until date, right? You're going to wait until a specific date. And so this could be a date on your form. This could be the person's birth date, right? And then you get to pick an offset. Like maybe you don't want to send a meeting invite at the time of the meeting. Maybe you want to do it, like 60 minutes before the meeting, right? You can do that. Or you can do a specific time, right? And you set the specific time here in case your date doesn't have a time. So sometimes you have a form that just has a date only picker, right? You don't have a time on there, so you can specify the time if the time is empty. So that's where you would do that. And then we got a bunch of other questions. I think some of these questions would be great for the next video. So we can try to keep it on topic a little bit with the flows. So I'm still going through. We got a big list. Okay, so this person's asking, couldn't you use a flow for cart abandonment? Let's say someone clicks on my product but doesn't end up buying. Can I send them a reminder? That's a great question. So on the order abandonment topic, you can, right? It just depends on if you have the customer's data, right? They abandoned before they gave you anything, then you're out of luck. But if they abandoned after they gave you some sort of data, then you are in luck. So let me show you an example. Let's say you have a form and your form is a multi-step wizard form, right? You might have some data to collect payment on page 2, and on page 1 you collect the lead. Well, on here we have under settings this option, and this is on by default for everyone. Now this saves partially completed wizard forms, meaning if you submitted page 1, we save page 1. And if you left before you did payments, right, then we still have the data, right? So this is great. This feature is on by default. If you have this on, then you can do some remarketing to this customer. So you're going to be looking for customers who've filled out that form, haven't completed it in there. And I think this specific thing was being added as a trigger too, because this is more of a time-based thing, right? Where someone doesn't, it's a little bit different than the normal triggers we have. Normal triggers are based on an event, like this event happens. This trigger is more like this event didn't happen. And so for that, I think the team was adding in a time, a way to edit the time, because you may take 15 minutes to fill out the page 2. You may take 5 minutes to fill out the page 2, right? You don't really know, but you need a way to go in there and customize that and say, if someone doesn't fill out page 2 within this amount of time, then launch the flow. So I know they were adding a trigger on that specifically, so you can automate that more. But just know that you do have those customers in your database, so you can add them to a flow. We got customers asking, is there a white label agency version still available for a one-time charge? Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the link where you can do that. So we got lifetime offer right here. So just head over to flowtrack.co/lifetime-offer.html. I'll go ahead and post a comment actually in the comments on here, see if that works. And yep, just post it in the comments and you can order the lifetime deal on FlowTrack here. Just click that button and you can see the white label pricing. Perfect. And then we got Renee saying she just bought the software. So thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Another person saying great session. Thank you guys. So I appreciate you all as well. If I missed some of your comments in here, we can do another session about this for our next video, or feel free to reach out to us directly and we're happy to help. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Happy Monday. Thank you all for being a flow tracker. And again, remember, minimalism is key. And I hope you guys are rocking and rolling, creating your new automation flows. Have a great one.